Thanks for watching Guns and Watches. It's the next video in the series about my knife collection, where I'm running through these 4 knives and comparing and contrasting whether you would have one over another. And none of these are bad. These are all great. That's why I have them in a collection. But they are all pretty steep, especially if you're a working class guy. Spending $100 on a knife is probably something you'd have to tell your wife about and get some grief on. The next here in the series is this Benchmade Claymore, and it's got some other name after that called Grivory. I don't know what Grivory is all about. That must be the handle material. And why you would not pick the other two that I've talked about over this first is this buck up here is a fixed blade knife, and you probably wouldn't want to have a fixed blade knife if you wanted to have something that people didn't know was on you, and it's not very comfortable to carry a fixed blade knife with you. The Kershaw is, these two are really similar, occupy almost the same space. The one thing that you wouldn't really care to have the Kershaw for is this non-skid here, that grip material, because it does wear out your pockets and it does cause a lot of lint. This is not going to do that. This handle is polymer, and if you've ever held a Glock or a Springfield M&P, maybe a Springfield XD or a Smith & Wesson M&P, or a SIG 365, any one of these pistols that has a stainless steel slide and a polymer grip, that is this right here. And so if you don't like that, if you don't like something being completely out of balance, because there is no weight here whatsoever, all the weight is in the blade on this knife, 100%. That's it. Maybe some of this mechanism right here. If you don't like the feel of polymer in your hand, then you're not going to want this at all. In fact, as I'm thinking about it, the blade here has almost the identical finish of the slide on a Glock. I think it might even be the same type of finish right here. Cerakote is what they call it, but this is impenetrable, and is probably going to last a really long time. This is the newest one. It's brand new. Just received it as a gift. But the handle here reminds me of my FN. I have an FNP 45 that is polymer on the bottom, stainless on the top, and the polymer feels very, very similar. So even though this has stippling and it looks to be pretty rugged, it's quite light. It's not going to cause a lot of lint if you wear it clipped in your pocket or clipped to your belt. It's very, very light. And so that's another positive here, is that you can have this in your breast pocket, you can have it in your pocket and not even really realize it's there until you go to sit down. Another big difference here, and everybody who opens this knife the first time drops it. This opens, because this handle has no weight, no mass whatsoever. You hit this, and it opens with such force that the knife will fly out of your hand. So you got to grip this when you're going to open it, and it has a safety on it. So that might be a downside. There's no safety on this Kershaw. The Kershaw is spring assist, but you have to flip it to open it, and so it's going to stay closed. If you forget to put that safety on and sit down, it's entirely possible you open this thing in your pocket. Where this thing is going to excel, though, is the finish on the blade. Even though the Kershaw is stainless steel and is not marred, even being 10 years old, this right here is not going to probably ever run out. This knife's never going to rust. Now, you can check the continuity on the blade. You see here the beep means that it's dead short. So if you had to cut a piece of wire with this, you wouldn't want to touch the safety or the spring, but if you could just, all right, if you have to get all the way back here to where where it doesn't conduct. So it's possible if you get back here. Highly not recommended to be trying to cut a live wire with this knife. The blade is so sharp that it's like an X-Acto knife. It is made in the United States, and it is very attractive. It's kind of got a NATO look to it. And so if you wanted to carry something like this every day, you'd be in good company. People would probably want to touch it and open it, and you need to be okay picking your knife up off the ground. I would have no problem carrying this. I just got it recently, and I probably am going to start carrying this one primarily just because it's so darn light. And it is a pretty good conversation piece as well. I don't know about the thickness of the blade. I don't know how strong that's going to be. I have tested the Kershaw because it's pretty old. Let's make sure that's zeroed. Zero, boop. So the blade is not that thick because it's got that Cerakote on there, and it's not really coming up to a 1/4 inch thick, even with the Cerakote. So this blade is probably, yeah, you can feel this thing bending a little bit, whereas the Kershaw does not bend at all. It's quite solid. So it is built to be light, and I would say, though, that if you were to have to get into a fight, this would be better than the Kershaw. Because the way this hilt is shaped, if you have to stab and if you have to fight, you're not going to slide forward. And that's a positive. So that's a big positive right there, is that if you had to get in a fight and you needed this for deep cover, this would be superior to the Kershaw. Because you see the shape of the Kershaw doesn't really have that much of a hilt. So if you were to stab somebody, the risk of you cutting your own finger is pretty darn high. So the shape of this handle is actually superior to the Kershaw. It's the last thing I thought of because I am not inclined to get into a knife fight with anybody. But if that's something on your list, if you're a security guard, if you're a private investigator, if you're a policeman, that's probably something at your forethought. That if you're ever going to have to defend yourself with a knife that's hidden, you do want one that's going to have some deep grooves right here to make you a hilt, so that way it doesn't actually end up hurting you. So thank you for watching Guns and Watches, Guns, Watches, and Knives in this series. Please like, subscribe, go back and check the videos of the previous knives, which was the Kershaw and the Buck. And next up is going to be this absolutely beautiful Damascus steel folder. I'll tell you what it is in the video. Like, subscribe, so that way you can find out where to get yourself a knife that looks that good. Thank you so much. And again, this is my personal collection. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to save you money, because you may be wanting to buy a knife and $100. I actually think this was a lot more than $100, but it was a present. That's a lot of money for a blue-collar guy to be spending. So maybe this will help you to in your choice of picking a knife for work or for play. Have a great day. And again, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching Guns and Watches.